Hey everyone, this is Talkative Carl back again for another movie review. This month of October we'll be covering, well, it kind of works perfectly because today's October 1st. I'm covering Venom 1. Tomorrow I'm going to see Venom 2. Then once I get back, I will do a movie review of that. But yeah, I'm going to cut right to the chest. I love this film. I really, really do. And hey, Daniel, how's it going, man? Uh, yeah, I mean, like, I was weary and kind of like, excuse me, I had low expectations going in to see this movie when it came out in the theaters a couple years ago. Now, first and foremost, when I went to the theater to go see this movie, I still wanted to see it because it's Venom, but I just did not like the idea that we're having like a Venom movie, and if you know any inkling of Venom's origin story, it's specifically tied in to Spider-Man. Uh, I'm doing great, Daniel. Uh, just relaxing, getting some reviews out for today. But it's like you got Venom. You're making a Venom movie when he's not specifically tied to Spider-Man. How will you make it work? They kind of make it work in like the bare minimum. You just barely made it. Like who directed this film? Because the new one's being directed by Andy Serkis. This was directed by Ruben Fleischer. I was like, you just made it work, just barely, man. And you included, cameo characters like John Jameson, the son of J. Jonah Jameson, who was the pilot, like an astronaut, who got the symbiote to hitch a ride, on his aircraft back to Earth, just like in the 90s TV show, the Spider-Man 90s TV show, which at some point I will do like a TV show review about too. Oh yeah, Eminem song. Like people like, not everybody, but it's like a few people like to rag on Eminem's Venom song, and it's like I love Eminem. He's one of my favorite artists of all time, and that Venom song was a beast. I love that Venom song. It is amazing. Like I got on my I liked one of the videos, so it's on my liked list on my YouTube, and I got it like on Pandora as one of my favorite songs I want to hear all the time. It's very, very good. It gets you in the mood. It's like one of those songs that really get you in the mood. It's just like the Mortal Kombat theme song. It just gets you in the mood. Not in a sexual mood, obviously, but I'm not kink shaming. But yeah, so Tom Hardy playing Eddie Brock. People a little like shaky on that because he does not do English so well. Because throughout his film, he's very how do I put this? It's like he's trying to talk in a way Adam Sandler does, as he's trying to speak in a goofy language. If that makes any sense. Or at least he's trying to hold in like his breath as he's trying to talk, just to make sure he's avoid slipping into his accent. Like, that is the ugliest thing I ever seen. uh, like this thing is up my ass. It's like that kind of thing. It's like, wow. But somehow Tom Hardy makes it work. I think Tom Hardy and Venom is probably like the two biggest things that makes this movie work. These two dynamics, it works so well. Uh, the aircraft. This is not like normal NASA. This is like Life Foundation, which in the comics there is a Life Foundation in the Marvel comics way back in the 90s who did experiments on Venom to cause more variants of the Venom suits. Not like a traditional birth, like in the way Venom birthed the Carnage symbiote. But the Life Foundation kind of like experiment on Venom costume just to extract more, Venom variants to hopefully make Venom soldiers. So in a way, they kind of like did a variation of that in this film, where Riz Ahmed's character, uh, uh, Carlton Drake, who gets the Riot symbiote, uh, I mean, honestly, like if there's one con out of this movie, it's him, because the director didn't really, kind of give this character that much layers beyond just the same old shtick that you see in many films, like spy or even superhero films in general, where like the main villain thinks humanity sucks. It's the same thing with the Ra's al Ghul thing. Humanity sucks. It's time to start over. Blah blah blah. If I'm not wrong, it was in the Lethal Protector. Lethal Protector. Thank you. I was blanking on the title of the freaking book, but yeah, Lethal Protector. Thank you. But yeah, was where you get like characters like Riot from, and Lasher and Scream. I think Scream is one. But they managed to get some of the symbiotes that were attached to the ship, but one, which is being Riot, managed to slip away, kill. I don't know if he kills John in this. We never see him again, but he takes over one of the ambulance drivers, possess her, and continue walking, which turns out to be 6 months later after an incident. But it's like, that's another weird thing. It's like 6 months of traveling, and this fucker didn't come to stay on the course. He was like, was the thing injured, was incubating in the body until it was like fully healed or something like that, before it started to eventually travel along or anything like that. It's like, I don't know, it was never explained. It was like weird, kind of like a time cut, and that thing's still moving along, I guess trying to find the rest of the team, of rest of the symbiotes. But we see Eddie Brock. He's like a blog, kind of like a blog reporter in a way, and he reported on like the homeless and like certain deaths being carried out by certain powerful people, that kind of thing. But you get like he worked for a boss who's a guy who, because around this time when this movie came out, Luke Cage season 2 was running, I think, and the boss was one of the buddies that's Luke Cage that hangs out at the barbershop. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, is this some kind of weird, because he did go, like in one of the episodes, he did go on like a trip somewhere, because he was gone for a couple of days. And I'm thinking to myself, did you leave for a couple of days to be in Venom, or at least come to run this business to deal with Eddie Brock or something like that? Because that's not too far of a stretch, because people just be reusing actors instead of just getting fresh faces. But anyway, he's tasking Eddie Brock to interview Carlton Drake at the Life Foundation, give him these like softball questions and that kind of thing. And it's like, I know you took a chance, because it's vaguely covered how he used to live in New York and reporting there, but he had like an issue, so he moved to San Francisco. But if he was doing this kind of thing, if you brought him on, and for a while he's been doing this kind of like no nonsense, Lois Lane reporting, digging up stuff, and he's kind of not like Lois Lane. He kind of half-asses it in a way. Not, I don't say half-asses. He doesn't do a thorough check, a double thorough check with his sources and research, just to make sure he got all ducks in a row. That's the problem. But you brought him on knowing what he's like, and it's like, don't have him, if you know he's gonna, had a feeling he's gonna like pull a stunt, don't have him interview someone like Carlton Drake, who you think is like the cat's bananas, and you know, like he's paying the bills and that kind of stuff. Get somebody else to do fluff pieces. If you don't trust Eddie Brock, who's like a hard news reporter that tells it like it is and reports the truth, and he is doing his job to dig out the truth, do not hire him for fluff pieces where he doesn't like feel comfortable with said interviewee. But that's what happens. And he because like the way he was just like grilling Drake caused him and his girl to lose their jobs, because earlier he stole information, or at least got information from her laptop with some highly secure stuff, which should not be on her laptop in the even if it's on her laptop in like a secure file. It's not very secure because it's like there's like a little thing on a desktop area where you can easily click on and give you all the confidential stuff that you want without putting extra security measures on it, or at least put a password in your laptop to avoid scenarios like this. So it's like, yes, he messed up. He caused you to lose your job, which is weird because it all happened in a single day. But partially it's on you for not like securing your laptop thoroughly. Or maybe not the laptop itself, but the file that you that's been marked heavy confidential, and you don't put some extra measures of security levels on that particular file. Most of this is on you, to be honest. Just play devil's advocate. So I got some Portillo's earlier and some lemonade. In certain scenes, he's like befriending this homeless lady, so he's like, oh, he's a good guy at heart kind of situation. But he kind of like punks out when like this convenience store lady, Mrs. Chen, who he obviously knows from the neighborhoods. He visits that convenience store a lot, and it's just like, they got this rapport. But he doesn't stick around, or at least he doesn't step up when some mugger comes in and try to rob her. He pretty much like he resigned himself to just, look out for a number one kind of situation. Because the last time he stuck his neck out for somebody, he got burnt. Which is weird because he still, in San Francisco, mind you, he still have a very nice apartment. And he's, been looking for a job for 6 months, and somehow he still managed to keep that room as odd. Not even just because it's San Francisco, it's odd in general that for 6 months you couldn't get no other photography, journalism job at all. I know you kind of been blacklisted, I get it, but you couldn't get any job through that course of 6 months just to tie you over until you land something at some kind of a news reporter capacity, and you're not out on your ass. That is bananas to me. But then one scientist working with Drake named Dr. Skirth, realizing that Drake is using homeless people for experiments to try to force bond a symbiote to a human host, but the human host, if it's not compatible in any way, is immediately killed, and he just does not care. They're just like fodder figure for him. So she goes and searches for Brock, convinces him to come help expose Drake. And this is like a funny moment where like what's her name? 80s girl. Yeah, Anne Way. Who in the comics is She Venom, but spoiler for She Venom in the comics, she lost her mind after being like a She Venom for a while, killing a lot of people. She couldn't handle it, ended up committing suicide, jumping off a building. But in this, which I didn't realize they actually pulled the actual She Venom. I thought they just kind of made this character up, but it's actually the character. And she got a new boyfriend, a doctor, and this is like such a 90s film, but kind of like turned on its head a bit, because if you've seen like certain films where it's like the new boyfriend or new girlfriend comes about, they're always very antagonistic to the former boyfriend or girlfriend. But in this case, which is like a nice little change of pace, where like the new boyfriend loves Eddie Brock. He's fanboys out as soon as he sees him, and it's like there's like a as he's fanboying out, she gives him this look like, "Are you kidding me right now?" It was like, without missing a beat, it's probably the funniest thing she does out of this whole freaking film. That that look, that death stare she just gives, like, just watching her new boyfriend fanboying out on the axe, and it's like, and they get along. That is definitely good writing, where you can subvert the tired trope like that. That is brilliant. After like talking with her, like he's like kind of like really bummed out about what he did. So he decides to help Dr. Skirth by exposing Drake. That way, obviously redeeming him, so maybe he can get back with Anne. But obviously that's not gonna take. But Eddie's notorious in screwing himself from time to time. As they investigate the building, Eddie happened upon one of the homeless people that he met earlier in the film being experimented on. She carrying the Venom symbiote. She, he lets her out, not realizing she's possessed. She dies, but not before passing on Venom onto Eddie, which immediately gives him like crazy strength and speed, and he's just hopping over fences and trees and stuff. And like, kudos to Tom Hardy, who's his acting skills is like amazing, because he can really act like he's being not just getting up but being pulled up and dragged, like it's like kind of thing. And it's just like just brilliant movement. It's subtle, but it's but it is great. But then you see like he coming home and he's like, he's just on a tear, just eating, trying to. I guess the Venom City is hungry, so he's forcing Eddie to like consume frozen tater tots, drinking beer and water and old chicken, old partially eaten chicken out of the dumpster that's probably been there for at least a day, and he's like immediately puking, obviously. And he's looking at himself in the mirror, and it's like this brilliant moment. Is like, Venom's popping out just a brief minute, and just Eddie. It's like, and screaming at the little girl and just knocking himself out. It was so good. um, as soon as Eddie's trying to meet up with the next day is he's trying to meet up with Anne to try to while she's at dinner with was Dan the new boyfriend. Yeah, Dan, this doctor, and they at this swanky restaurant, and like this is probably the best scene out of the film because everybody loves the scene where he grabbing random foods off of plates, accidentally, well not accidentally, but just like nonchalantly smacking people across the face, and and trying to take their food and sniffing people. He just going balls wonker, just bonkers, just grabbing on people's faces and stuff like that, and grabbing and just breaking, and he's hopping into the lobster tank just to cool himself off, and it's just like that whole entire scene is just like brilliantly shot, well edited, well acted. It's just like the best scene out of this entire film. I'm like, there's a lot of cool scenes in this film, but that one is probably everybody's favorite. Uh, Dan, does like a scan on H. Brock, and he's at home while they're getting the results. That's when Venom starts to talk to Eddie. Then Drake's men, after finding out that that not only he get shoot, Drake kills Dr. Skirth, who kind of looks like Tina from Bob's Burgers all grown up. Now I'm thinking about it. But he sent his goons to go get Brock, and Venom just partial of his suit is coming about, tripping people up and pushing people into the walls, throwing weights at them, just all kinds of stuff. And of course, Tom Hardy does the voice for Venom in this. I don't think he does it for 2. I think Andy Serkis does Venom's voice in 2. I could be wrong, but Andy Serkis is great at doing those kind of voices. But I like the way Tom Hardy does Venom's voice in this film. It's really good. But the thing is, there's been moments. Well, there's only one scene where it's kind of like Venom before they actually officially bond, or at least started cooperating. Venom, because in the comics, Venom always uses pronouns as we and us because it's a partnership. Unlike Carnage, who uses I. So Venom kind of flip flops between I and we in a particular scene, and it's like I caught that. Anybody who's a Spider-Man fan or a specifically Venom fan, they would definitely caught that, and it rung some alarms for me. It's like not a big deal, but it's like something that right in the same scene you could not keep straight, that Venom will pronounce things as we and us and our. But anyway, there's a cool high-speed chase on a motorcycle. Venom and Eddie is just dipping and dodging and tumbling over cars chasing them. And sometimes they shot I don't know how San Francisco is, but there's certain repeat shots of certain blocks that if you look close enough you'll notice. But Eddie ended up crashing, breaking his legs, but then you get the full Venom takeover, and he's just a cool. You see it in the trailer. It's this cool voice. It's he's telling one of the henchmen, eyes, lungs, pancreas. So many snacks, so little time. It's like, oh my god, I love that Venom voice. Like, parasite. Apologize. Apologize. But he always brings out like Apollo buddies, Apollo heads, and it's like, Venom eats brains. It got the same consistency as chocolate, to Venom. So, Venom from time to time eats brains. I think like a lot of symbiotes do. As Eddie's using Venom. This is the scene where it's like they looking at each other's face to face for the first time, but this is when they kind of flip flop the I and we. Just in this scene, it's I don't think it's been done in scenes after this, but they go back to Eddie's old job to leave the evidence at his boss's desk, but he can't go up through the normal means because of the security. So Eddie, being afraid of heights, Venom takes over and just starts climbing because he doesn't have web shooters yet, that's why it's like not seeing Venom use the four-arm web shooters like you seen like Maximum Carnage and other video games, just a web swing. He does a lot of crawling, on surfaces and jumping. And he climbs on top of this building and into the window of his boss's office, leaving the proof of what Drake's been doing behind the scenes. And then, as I was watching this movie with a friend of mine who had a ball, watching this, because she thought it was freaking hilarious. And she's not like a big superhero fan. She doesn't go to these kind of things, all the often, except for like certain rare instances, like the Blade movies she's seen, and I took her to see Black Panther, and she saw this. I'm pretty sure there's at least a couple of more, but like there's only like a handful of superhero movies she actually watched. But even though her sister watched a lot of these things, and like she's a little older than her, but me and her looking at her like, you got Disney. You complain about like it's too many, or at least you don't have like DVDs, or you can't watch. You got them all on the. You just get Disney Plus. You got them all there. You can watch at your leisure and just watch. But it's just like 23 movies. It's like, oh, it's too much. I ain't trying to watch them all. It's like you can't get the references that me and her are making about certain things because you haven't witnessed them yet. It's gonna go over your head. It's just monotonous to me. It's like, through 10 years you haven't stopped to like, unless one of us bring you to one of these things, you don't know what the hell is going on. You gotta just go on word of mouth kind of thing. And you talk about no spoiling. If we bring up something like Infinity War Endgame, it's like, oh, don't spoil it, I might want to see it. Like, you probably not, but we abide. But anyway, there's a scene at this moment where she loves the most, where Venom is telling like, so back outside, and he's like a quick cut, and I'm going directly to the elevator. Here Venom's like, pussy, and she laughed her ass off at that scene. That me and a lot of people in the theater laughed our ass off at that scene. That was brilliantly edited. That was like a great funny moment in the entire film. Oh, I'm about to mention, like, almost forgot. When I went to go see this in the theaters, there was some. You talking about, like, I wouldn't call this like a bad theater experience, but the most annoying. That you got this. I'm going to my seat, and he's got this guy who's like a couple of rows. No, it's like at least a row or two because I've got the seat that's near the aisle. Because I usually get when I go to the theater, I find a seat next to the aisle, so that way if I have to get up to go to the bathroom, I don't have to go hopping over people. I don't like doing that. And I always go in the morning, so there's not that many people there, so I don't have to worry about that kind of crap anyway. At least any kind of noises like this, where as soon as like I'm holding my popcorn and drink and stuff like that, going to my seat, and this guy and his kids, he has his kids on my seat jumping up and down like crazy to a Venom movie, no less, and it's like a creature that's biting off heads. Whatever, is you're the parent, do what you want. My father showed me worse films as a kid. My first R-rated movie that I ever saw in my entire life, I remember vividly because I watched it on TV with my father, the first Predator movie, which I didn't know was like a kind of like a slash. Well, it's not slasher, it's sci-fi, but it's gory scenes that I didn't anticipate, but I was glued as hell to the film. So that was my first R-rated film. This is not necessarily R-rated, but you're still taking your kid to a Venom movie, but whatever. But as soon as I'm walking by to my seat, I'm seeing these kids, these toddlers jumping up and down on my seat with their dirty ass shoes, and the guy looking over like, "Oh, is this your seat?" No, it's like staring at kids jumping down on seats. What the fuck do you think? I'm sorry. It's just that was, oh god, it was annoying. It's like, what the hell do you think? You think I just standing here just gaping, eyes agape, just for the habit, And the kids is like making, they was quiet for most of the movie, thank God. But as soon as the end credits, like where like the Venom, Eminem Venom song, it's like playing, I couldn't even thoroughly enjoy the song completely because you got these kids jumping up and down, running, singing the song. I was like, oh my god. It was not a bad theater experience, but it was the most annoying. Anyway, somehow SWAT team is down there. I'm not sure if they work for Drake or they just normal SWAT teams. But how do they know what kind of threat they're dealing with when they come in full tactical gear, like they about to take on some terrorists or something like that? And like it's like a cool moment where it's like, after Eddie's not complying to their like orders, and they always like mask up, and everybody's like copy, and Eddie's telling Venom's like mask up and a copy, and he's suits up his Venom, and like this is a cool scene where he's got like Venom, because they throw tear gas and everything like that, not tear gas or I don't know, it's just a regular smoke bomb, or just, I'm pretty sure it's just like a regular smoke bomb. But so Venom's kind of silhouetted, and you see him like going through like the clouds as he's attacking, officers, and throwing them everywhere and attacking them and biting their heads off and stuff like that. It's a cool shot. It would have been cooler, and this is my consensus of the entire film, if Deadpool proved anything, it proves that if a character who is very known to be very R-rated should not be watered down like Sony's been doing. I understand you're making like a family-friendly kind of thing just to earn more box office kind of revenue and stuff like that, but there are certain characters that warrants an R rating, and this kind of scene would have warranted an R rating where he's not PG-13ing you to death. This is like Venom, who has sharp teeth and super strength and claw fingers that should we should be seeing him ripping people in toothpicks, the same way as King Shark and the Suicide Squad movie too, where he's ripping a guy in half. That's what we should be seeing Venom be doing right now. Despite it still being cool to see like him just attacking through the smoke, and you can't see him coming, but it would have been better. You seen like mist of blood being splattered through the clouds, and it's like instead of white smoke, is turns like a red mist because it's like just a bloody mess on a lot of officers. But that's what I wanted to happen, but we didn't get that. And finds Eddie after tracking him down. His his cell phone being pinged. Uh, she sees him turn to Venom. Uh, as soon as he reverts back, she gains her composure, and he's trying to explain things and everything like that. She takes him to the hospital. Venom tells Eddie, because he's starting to like her and giving her very aggressive, attitude, and barking orders and stuff like that. Like, in the coward now, I like her, and he's telling Eddie to because they share a mind, so he knows all Eddie's little secrets. He tells Eddie you might want to apologize to her right now and say what you have to say to her, because we don't know, we might live. You don't know, you might not live to get another chance. So Eddie sincerely apologizes for his hand and what happened to her life, that kind of thing. And it's just a funny little end to this scene where it's Venom just oh, that's nice. And Dan explains the symbiote is causing problems to Eddie, not realizing he's affecting and killing you. You got to get this thing off of you. They separated thanks to the sound sonics through the MRI. Eddie runs out, got kidnapped, and being interrogated by Riot and Drake, who Riot had been hitching ride for at least a couple of different people. One being a little girl that I don't know, not sure where's the parents at, because she can't be just a unaccompanied minor, because the airlines definitely have some issues. But anyway, Carlton gets possessed by Riot. Obviously, Riot is using him, but Riot wants to get all the other symbiotes. In the comics, they're named Clintar. That's their racist name, and get them, lead them to Earth for a takeover. But Venom somehow probably off screen some freaking reason decide to he likes humanity now, where initially he was about to do the exact same thing until I guess he got warmed up with Eddie and his friends. So he decided on my planet I'm kind of a loser. Here we could be something more. And so he's I'm just gonna be the only symbiote here, at least for now. So I want to keep the other symbiotes from coming to this planet. So they go back to Drake's Life Foundation headquarters, and because you get this scene where Drake orders men to take him out in the woods to kill him, but don't understand why you don't just kill him right then and there, because you killed a bunch of other people, including Dr. Skirth, without hesitation on the premises, and just take the body out, at a later period when nobody's looking. But anyway, they out there, and it's a funny moment where you see in certain action movies where one guy tries to he's being held at gunpoint in the exact same way, but he does his move where he snatches the phone away from the bad guy's hands without little to no effort. This one undercuts it again. It's no, he's a very professional. He knows how to hold his gun. You're not taking it away from him, and he gets smacked for his incompetence, which is a funny moment that nobody saw coming. And then you see Anne Wayne turn to She-Venom after reacquiring the Venom symbiote, trying to go save Eddie. And you get She-Venom for the first time, and it's that's freaking She-Venom, but that's the only time you're gonna see him, only for that few minutes. And it's got this weird awkward kissing between She Venom and Eddie, and it's like passing on the Venom symbiote back to Eddie, but it's like in that moment, who's kissing Eddie? Is it the symbiote or is just and uh, giving in to her true feelings thanks to the symbiote? Yeah, it's either way, that's the most. I wouldn't say it's the most awkward kiss. I can let that one fly way more than like Kylo and Rey awkward kiss, or Finn and Rose awkward kiss, or Sylvie and Loki's awkward kiss. Those are the most awkward kisses in recent memory that make this kiss seem normal. But anyway, Venom and Eddie go back to the Life Foundation, fight Riot and Drake, but Venom is like warning Eddie is like about Riot. Is like, he has some shit you never seen before, and it's just like he's using spikes or a ball like thing with spikes on it, and it's like, that's some shit you never seen before. You do it all the time, but Riot is a little bit bigger than Venom, and he's kind of like a de facto leader. And Riot and Drake trying to get on this rocket ship that's being about to be launched, and makes it back to the Life Foundation, turns on the Sonic somehow with no knowledge on how any of the instruments work, and causes the Sonics to disrupt the symbiote's hold on Eddie and Drake. Now there's just like a normal man-to-man fist fight with, obviously, Eddie being bigger and stronger than scrawny Drake, got the upper hand and tried to go stop the launch, but until Drake reacquired Riot, stabs him to the back. But he requires Venom to heal himself, and while the rocket's taking off, cause serious damage to the rocket, cause it to explode, killing Drake and Riot in the process. Then thinking like at first like Venom's he got caught up in the fire of the explosion, he might be dead. It's like, we know we're gonna get a sequel, and we know he's gonna meet up with Spider-Man soon in future installments, given the fact that we get in the Sinister Six too. It's like, we knew back in 2018 it's obviously gonna be leading into this, so it's like, yeah, Venom is totally dead. Whoa, I'm so sad. And then you hear him talking in Eddie's head later on. And luckily we don't get we get like a Stan Lee cameo in this, but luckily it wasn't his last one before he died. But now Eddie and Venom is teamed up. Eddie's instructing him about if you're gonna sticking around, you're gonna have to control yourself. Of course you can beat up, maim, and maybe for a few rare occasions you eat any brains. You only do so. You do any of that only to the very bad people, and you can just tell by just like on the surface body language, and it's just kind of intuition, the way like a person does certain things. You just intuitively know. So they go back to Mrs. Chan to try to get some food for Venom, and you see that robber again, and you get that trailer scene about the turd in the wind, which to this day does not make any sense, but in a weird way, it's weird enough where it obviously kind of sounds kind of funny. Maybe not cool, but funny. Like a turd in the wind. And then he just eats the guy right in front of Mrs. Chen. She didn't scream or nothing. She just all in shock, I guess. But it's just like, you're not calling the police. You're not, you're just like, okay, a man just turned to a big blob monster and ate another man who was robbing me, and that happened. That's a normal reaction, I guess. But then you get the cool Venom song at the end. And then you get a teaser of Eddie meeting Cletus Cassie, soon to be Carnage, played by Woody Harrelson, with the stupidest Ronald McDonald wig, which thank God they got rid of that. But they should have probably put two and two together before they shot that scene, but whatever. But yeah, that was Venom. Oh my God, it's actually pretty good and still holds up pretty well. It's like I've seen it. I think this is my third or fourth time seeing this, and like I still like it. It's really good, despite like certain things I pointed out along my thoughts on the film. Despite those few cons I had on it, it's a fun watch. It's just something that you just like. It's not like some movies that are there to like be background noise. This is not something that can be background noise. This is something like you're glued into just the 90s stick to this whole film. It's just fun. But I cannot wait to see. I'm avoiding like the plague social media right now because I did not know they were doing like a Thursday showing of Venom. So people are posting videos. I haven't seen any, but posting videos about end credits and their thoughts on the thing. Non-spoilers, of course. A few spoilers, but it's mostly non-spoiler videos. I'm trying to avoid all that in general until I see the movie. Because even with the non-spoilers, sometimes I'd rather not even know that. Because if I'm really, really looking forward to a movie, I don't want even the non-spoilers to give, certain things away, just in case. But yeah, but it's gonna be an exception to Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm not calling sick. Well, I don't know. Like, I might call in sick. I'm just gonna call it a day on the day of. Because, December 17th is when Spider-Man No Way Home comes out. That's obviously a Friday, obviously. But I figure by that point I should have, because like middle of the month, I should have enough like sick time or at least a little bit of PTO time to cover me on that day. So that way I can call off because I telling my friends, like, I'm going to make a day out of it. I'm going to see on, because this will be the first time in a long time that I go to a movie on a Friday of a release of a film to go see a movie. Usually, I have no problem waiting on like a Saturday the day after when I usually have a day off to go see a film. But this one's too important to me to just wait. I want it to see like the release. I don't even care if I have to see it in the afternoon, which I usually avoid because usually when the release of a film, it comes out on a Friday in like late afternoon into the evening, and knowing this movie, there's gonna be a lot of people packed, and that's another thing I don't like. It's like a packed room, but I guess in this case, just like with Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame, I can make an exception to because this is kind of a big deal. So I'm gonna make sure I'm on it with those tickets on a Friday because I know it's gonna be packed as fuck, and I do. Even if I have to sit in the middle row and my little seat next to aisle might be filled up, I'm gonna find a spot and make do with it because it's like I said, this is kind of an exception to many of my rules that I have when it comes to going to the theater and trying to enjoy the theater experience. This is too big and I cannot wait. And I know some people are very iffy about Morbius with Jared Leto, but I'm still looking forward to that, considering that we saw in the trailer Vulture. So this is gonna be a big deal, and that's another thing I'm actually am looking forward to next year. I want to see the Morbius movie. I have an inkling that just like we kind of like were iffy about the first Venom movie, didn't know how it was gonna turn out. Some people didn't like what we saw in the trailers, kind of thing. Some people make jokes, but it grows over $1 billion, and so it's like, despite it not being like a stellar performance, it still did so exceptionally well. So what the hell do we know kind of situation. I am in a mindset thinking like, I don't have no proof to back it up, but it's like considering how Venom did, I'm assuming that Morbius will turn out just like that. at least approaching those same numbers. Because the way Sony is like getting their ducks in a row with these properties, uh, who knows? It might do just as well as Venom. But yeah, let me know what your guys' thoughts on the first Venom movie. Give me a few minutes while I boot up just one episode this month for Dahlia's War. Since it's the month of October, it'll be like the last episode, the special episode, Vampires versus Zombies. I kind of just want to do that this month, all things considered. And I'm planning on playing like a little bit, like at least an hour or so, or at least close to an hour or so, of Castlevania Symphony of the Night. And I'll try to get these posted on the channel as quickly as I can. But don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff to Talking of Carl on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. If you want to further support the channel, follow me on my Patreon. That's patreon.com/talkingofcarl. If you have any ideas for certain videos, then I will definitely make it so. Yeah. And like I said, links are in the description. And I do have a Twitch channel where I do walkthroughs of video games. That's twitch.tv/talkingofcarl. Check that out. Follow me there too. And yeah, I'll see you guys I'll see you guys in a little bit for Dahlia's War episode and Castlevania. But stay tuned for tomorrow. I'll be back for an extra movie review, because I usually do 2 a week, maybe. But I want to make sure I get Venom 2 out for you guys, so that way I don't get spoiled and anything like that. So anyway, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, be safe, and I'll see you guys in a little while.